everyone, my name is Sarah Stankavich and I'm a wildlife technician at the Ohio Division of Wildlife as well as a member of the Ohio Bat Working Group. In this short video I'm going to discuss the ways that you can create a garden to attract bats. When you think of gardening for wildlife, you likely think about pollinators. There actually are some species of nectar-feeding bats that serve as pollinators, but unfortunately none of them live in Ohio. All of the bats in our state are insectivorous. In fact, bats are the main predator for night-flying insects, and they feed in large part on things like moths and beetles. So when you think about gardening to attract bats in Ohio, what you're actually trying to do is attract the insects that they eat. The easiest way to do this is to create what is sometimes referred to as a moon garden or a night garden. These gardens typically are made up of white or pale flowers that bloom or give off their scent late in the day or at night. It's important to have a variety of plants in your garden so it attracts a variety of insects. Some plant species native to Ohio that would make a good addition to a night garden include blue vervain, goldenrod, evening primrose, and phlox species. Of course, there's many others, and at the end of this presentation, I'll give you some resources you can use to help find additional native plants. Here are a few examples of non-native plants that you could use in a night garden, but I strongly encourage you to plant native plants when possible. They're adapted to this area and they provide all kinds of additional benefits for native wildlife, from insects to birds to mammals. They generally require fewer pesticides and less water than non-native or horticultural species. It's also beneficial to plant herbs in your garden, such as mint, marjoram, rosemary, chives, and lemon balm. These species will also attract different insects. So what else can you do to enhance your yard to attract bats besides just planting more flowers? Well, there's a number of things that you can do, and I'll go through each one of these in a little more detail. First, having a water source is beneficial, especially one that has an uncluttered and unobstructed surface. Bats don't land to drink, so anything that blocks easy access to the surface of the water will be a deterrent. A bird bath can be used as a water source, but you need to make sure that you keep the water level high. Next, you can keep areas of your lawn natural. Long grass provides habitat for insects, which means more food for bats. A natural lawn doesn't have to look unmanaged. Here's a few examples of how to incorporate mown and unmown areas as well as different wildflowers to create a more natural looking landscape in your yard. For homeowners that have larger properties, tree management is important for maintaining natural bat roosts. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that in this presentation, but the Ohio Bat Working Group does have a guide for best management practices for private landowners. The most important things you can do are to maintain large trees, maintain snags or dead trees if they're not a hazard, and keep trees of any size that have exfoliating bark, crevices, or cavities that may be used for roosting, especially if these trees are in sunny areas. Instead of getting rid of all your leaves in the fall, consider leaving piles of leaf litter. These provide food and shelter for butterflies, beetles, moths, and more. You can also consider creating compost piles to create even more habitat. Now, if you've just created a beautiful garden or a natural yard, you might be tempted to light it up so that you can enjoy it at all hours. However, lights can be a deterrent to bats, especially things like spotlights that shine into the air. Use directional lighting when it's necessary, such as along pathways. You can also consider switching to red lighting, which studies have shown does not have an effect on bat activity. Finally, because bats are eating a lot of insects, it's important to keep your garden and lawn as pesticide-free as possible because these toxins can build up in bats over time. If you need to use pesticides, make sure you use one that's targeted to the pest you're trying to manage and always use it in the manner described on the label. For more information about native plants in Ohio, please visit ohionativeplantmonth.org. They have a great list of over 200 native plants with information about which pollinators they attract. The ODNR Moths of Ohio Field Guide also details host plants for each moth and is another great resource to use when you're building your night garden. You can download a PDF for free on the website or call 1-800-WILDLIFE to ask about ordering copies. If you'd like more information about bats, please feel free to reach out to the Ohio Bat Working Group on Facebook or check out our website for resources, including the Private Landowner's Guide for Managing Bats.